So welcome back to DC Silver Age Storytime, and today's story comes from Action Comics number 272, published in January 1961 with story by Otto Binder and art by Jim Mooney. The pyramids are in Japan. Mount Everest is in Florida. The Panama Canal connects the Indian Ocean to the Arctic Ocean. These statements may be wrong on Earth, but not on Terra, where outside of a few differences, most things are an exact duplicate of our world. And when an important mission sends Supergirl to that twin of Earth, we encounter the amazing phenomenon of the second Supergirl. So yet again, we open in Midvale Orphanage, and the woman who's in charge, and her name escapes me, she undercooked the meat, but Supergirl secretly cooks it with her X-ray vision. Why, it's soft and tender after all. We can serve it all right away. It's like a miracle. So later on, Linda Lee is in school, and one of her teachers says, out of Earth's millions of people, everybody has a double somewhere. I think that's a little dubious. They say, similarly, out of billions of different snowflakes, two can be alike by sheer chance. That gives me an idea. So she goes off to the Fortress of Solitude with Superman and has an idea. I want to find out, why are they thinking it and not saying it? I want to find out if there is a double of Earth somewhere in the universe, Superman. Then pick the right photos from... Why are they thinking this? So they're going to use the Super Univac, which we've seen before, to find a planet in the universe with a duplicate of her, and they find this planet. The planet Terra around star sun X45 duplicates most earthly phenomena, including two persons with superpowers. So she flies there and discovers that it's pretty similar, but Florida's bigger. The Statue of Liberty holds a banner instead of a torch. The Eiffel Tower is in America, and Metropolis is called Macropolis. Also, this woman is walking her little tiny elephant rather than a dog. And there we see a giant, fierce rabbit, which escapes. Help, the tiger rabbit broke loose. So she's about to go into action when Marvel Maid shows up. She's always on the job when there's trouble, thank heavens. I always think of maid as being like someone who cleans a house, but I believe it's supposed to be short for maiden. So she grabs up some bars and creates a makeshift jail, prison, or cage, just like Superman would do on Earth. She's good. Well, I think you would have done it too. She's kind of selling herself short. So Marvel Maid goes back to her Fortress of Solitude, and it turns out this one, her Fortress of Solitude is in orbit, and that giant key is hung on that radioactive satellite. No thieves in a rocket ship could use the key without getting a deadly dose of its radiation. So she follows Mighty Maid in. I don't remember putting a mirror here. I am not your reflection, Marvel Maid. Let me explain all about myself. So she explains her origin, and then Mighty Maid explains her origin. Her civilization actually lived underground within the planet, and a fellow says, look, the roof is cracking. Then Jalcor, the scientist, was right when he predicted our cavern world would collapse. But the scientist sends his daughter out in a rocket borer up to the surface. And she is met by a couple. Did that child come from an unknown civilization underground? Poor thing. If it can never return, it's an orphan. We'll adopt it for our own. I think this is a cool little twist. I really do think that's awesome. So we get a whole story, very brief, of how she became super baby and then Supergirl, and so she monitors the world and takes care of any emergencies. And then Supergirl explains, you see, I want to prove to my cousin Superman that I can handle any super job without making mistakes. Well, if you want to pose as Marvel Maid, study that exhibit and replace me in my secret identity before my absence is noticed. So it turns out Marvel Maid is actually, her secret identity is Lee Lindy, the Cub reporter. So it's very similar to Clark Kent. Gosh, Perry White is an exact double of Perry White on Earth. He isn't suspicious of me. Linda Lee and Lee Lindy are like two peas in a pod. Lee, please rush this typing. So she goes out, she replaces her S with a double M and flies out to do um, some super feats. She sees this ship about to hit an iceberg, and so she uses her X-ray vision to melt it, but accidentally lights the thing on fire. Um, and so she's trying to push the boat out of the way when who should show up, but well, he sees this is not Clark Kent. I saw a flash of flame out at sea. Well, it's pretty amazing. My telescopic vision showed that Marvel Maid needs my help. No guards will be around for an hour or so. I'll change. And so he ducks underground and up through the ocean and takes the burning the burning iceberg and pushes it underwater. Shoving the iceberg underwater will quench the flames, Marvel Maid. But you're slipping, cousin. Couldn't you tell this was a false iceberg made out of flammable salts that crystallize out of the seawater? So she explains that she's not Marvel Maid, but is her exact double from Earth. Great Scott, you're an exact double of my cousin. Tell me all about yourself and why you came to Terra. So she explains it all. And he explains his past, which was that he says, my father, who was Jalcor's brother, also knew of the coming disaster and sent me away in a rock penetrator as a child. But he got stuck, and I guess the volcanic gas put him in suspended animation. And then it's a little confusing. So when he arrives on the ground, he somehow is an adult, and he has superpowers. But he's a little clumsy, so she decides that he's not ready yet for full-time duty, and he needs to hone his skills. How odd! It's just the reverse of Superman and me on Earth. I'm here to prove I'm fully trained. That burning iceberg won't count against me, as it couldn't happen on Earth. So he says that he is in jail as Ken Clark. Goodness, you mean you committed a crime? No, Supergirl. You see, everyone on Terra must have identification papers. Marvel Maid obtained hers from her foster parents, but I had none and was sentenced to prison for years. This plot point's a little silly. Okay, but he's hiding out in a prison. That's his secret identity, as a prisoner. So we have a situation here where this fellow says, I'm not sure if my new muscle serum will work and double a man's strength. I want to conduct experiments at my lab with your weakest prisoner. So I want to just give me a prisoner and I'll do scientific experiments on them. So they decide to use Ken Clark because he's the weakest. But Supergirl, as Marvel Maid, hears what's going on, and she uses her super breath to push down on Ken Clark's sledgehammer, smashing the rock. Why, Clark isn't as weak as I thought, Professor. Perhaps he's been exercising daily in his cell. Well, choose another prisoner. So he gives her a wink because he knows that she protected his secret identity. Meanwhile, a meteor hits the Fortress of Marvels and knocks it out of the sky. Marvel Man, you saved the fortress from crashing after a big feat like that. Maybe Marvel Maid will agree your training period is over. You're doing me a super favor, Supergirl. Thanks. So he prepares himself to just catch it. But this woman is here, and Supergirl wants to distract her so she doesn't see Marvel Man in action. So she does the old squeeze the coal trick and turns it into a diamond in the rough. The woman is amazed to see the diamond, but unfortunately Marvel Man says, I couldn't catch the falling fortress, Supergirl. I feel pain, gasp, from the reflections of that diamond which weakens me. Heavens, then diamonds are your kryptonite. So, yep, on this planet, diamonds are the kryptonite, and people are not allowed to own diamonds. Sorry, ma'am, you know all diamond jewelry is banned. It can bring death to Marvel Maid. We will have to destroy your diamond. The farmer woman isn't happy over her find, as I first thought, but alarmed. Police, I found a diamond on my farm. Please send the diamond demolition squad over. And I also heard a loud crash before. I didn't help you prove yourself to Marvel Maid, nor myself to Superman. Oh, what a mess I've made of things here on Terra. I usually don't like these particular stories with all these unbelievable coincidences, but so far this one's not bad. I think this one is kind of fun.